Okay, so we are here. It's January 20th, 2022, and we're going to do another recording and learn more about your history and what has gone on. So when we left off, we were talking, I think we had gotten up to your wedding with Grandma Esther. And that's pretty much where we left off. So from there, we can take it wherever you really want to go.
It just so happens I have a picture of that, myself, Grandma Esther, Auntie Shirley, Uncle Dard, and Grandma Irene. Can I show you the picture?
Absolutely. It might be best if you tilt your screen a little bit forward. So we'll get a little bit more. There we go. That'll be better. Okay. Yeah. If you have to put it higher than that. You might have to cover your face a little bit.
You see it?
Yeah. So this is your wedding?
Yes. June 25th, 1950.
Wow. So that's Esther in the middle, obviously. And then we got you. And on your arm is if you look at the photo.
Hold on just a minute. From right to left is Grandma Irene, myself, Grandma Esther,
And then is that
Shirley, Uncle Dard.
You did have hair back then. I had been under the impression that you went bald like in your early 20s, but no, you had hair.
Well, that's a hairpiece.
Oh, never mind. I take that back.
Oh, wait a second.
I want to talk about the hairpiece now.
Okay, now I have something else to show you here. This, would you believe, that's me at the age of 4 and Auntie Shirley at the age of 6.
Wow. Good looking kids.
Okay. Now, the next one, this is great grandpa Mo, my father.
When was this taken, do you think?
As best I can figure out, this was taken sometime in the very late 1930s or the very early 1940s. This is a cutout from a larger photograph. I don't know why it's like this, but it is. And finally, last of all, this was taken in San Diego at a commercial photography shop in San Diego.
You look good.
Okay. Now, where did we leave off?
We left off at your wedding. We discussed a little bit about your wedding.
Oh,
and
okay.
basically that's where, so we have, it's kind of wide open on where you kind of want to take this, whether you want to talk about,
Okay. Okay. I have, I still something blocking your face. This meeting is being recorded by the host or participant. How do I get rid of it? Just click on got it?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, it's gone. Okay. All right, let's go.
Yeah, it's, do you want me to ask questions or do you want to kind of go? I mean, we can basically, we can talk about the marriage, the kids, jobs.
Okay.
I don't know what you want during that period of time you're interested in talking about right now.
Let's go from the picture. The picture, of course, was taken June 25th, 1950. We started our honeymoon the next day, driving east to Norfolk, Nebraska. And Grandma Esther had an aunt and an uncle. Aunt Florence, what was the uncle's name? Can't think of it. And they lived in a small community in Iowa. We'll work out the name of the community. Esther and May were born in Norfolk, Nebraska. There was a family business there. They had the town's only okay. Now I can lean back and be a little more comfortable here. A glass shop, storefront glass, window glass, tabletops. I don't know whether they did automobile glass or not. Anyway, we drove back there. I had a relatively new car, a 1950 Studebaker Starlight Coupe. Anyway, we drove back to Norfolk. I met the whole family, and then we went to this community, small community in Iowa, in which Aunt Florence and her husband ran the general store in the city. They had since retired to a retirement community in Tucson, Arizona. We were gone a total of about 2 weeks. We got back in the late 40s and early 50s in LA and Los Angeles, and probably countrywide, with approximately 16 million men returning back to civilian life from the military. Places were hard to find. We found a small converted apartment near the corner of Western and well, if I had a map, of Western Avenue, and that was the north-south street. I can't think of the east-west street there.
Do you want me to get a map, or do you just?
What? Did I what?
Do you want me to get a map? Do you want me to get a map?
Yeah,
It's up to
actually.
you. It kind of it just depends on whether how much you want to find the street corner or know where you were.
Okay.
We can do that.
Anyway, it was between La Brea and I think Western Avenue.
Okay, give me one moment.
And it
okay. I will quickly share screen. Okay, let's define Western Avenue. Come on.
Okay.
There's Western Avenue, and then you said it was.
Okay, hold on to that. Western Avenue. Okay. Oh, Oakwood. I see a street I'm familiar. Oakwood is a street that Esther's parents lived. They owned a small house on Oakwood. 77 Oakwood Avenue. Okay, now let's see.
There's Oakwood down here. This is Oakwood right here.
I see it. Yeah. Okay, now.
It took me a moment to see it.
Okay, let's. Oakwood. Okay. Beverly Boulevard, Western.
Then down here is 3rd. Then we get into the Wilshire.
Okay.
I don't know if you were north or south of that.
I can't see. Can you zoom in a little bit? Okay.
Yeah, were you north or south of Oakwood?
Well, probably north.
We get up to Santa Monica, Melrose, Santa Monica. You said it was La Brea, right?
Oh, hold it. It wasn't Western Avenue. It was La Brea. Yeah.
Okay. So it was.
Okay. They lived on Oakwood between La Brea and Fairfax. Yeah. Okay.
La Brea. I can never.
Yeah. Okay. Here.
There's La Brea.
Yeah.
Sorry. This is La Brea right here. Here's Beverly. So this is Oakwood. Yeah. Here's Oakwood, and here's La Brea. So they lived. You said between La Brea and.
Okay. The north-south streets are Beverly Boulevard, but okay. It's okay
if you don't remember exactly where you live.
Okay. That's not. Anyway, what happened? This was a 4-family dwelling. There were 2 dwellings on the first floor and 2 on the second floor. And what the owner of the building had done was cut it in half. So instead of having 4 dwellings in the building, now he had 8. And he added a small, he had to add a small kitchen to the 4 new ones he added a small kitchen and a small bathroom. And I have to tell you, they they were small, maybe 20 or the kitchens were maybe 40 or 50 square feet. The bathrooms even smaller.
Jeez.
Yeah, there, and then in the little apartments he created in the bathroom, there was no tub. It was a lot easier to put in a shower than it was to put in a bathtub. Okay.
I'm gonna have you push your camera forward, push so we can see you again. We can't see you anymore. There we go, much better.
Okay, I'm just leaning back and making myself comfortable. Okay, so we had a place to live. The rent was a little steep, $60 a month, and so we were married, and every morning I went to work. Esther worked at a small factory that made baby products such as cribs, high chairs, other small baby furniture, baby toys, the whole list of things. And she kept the books for the company. In the meantime, I had gone to school, got a federal civilian CAA. That was the government office that regulated aviation, rules, regulations, and primarily for the safety of flight, everything considered the safety of flight. Now, what had happened is the Army Air Force had expanded to a point that it was probably almost as big as the Army ground forces at the time. The government had built over 300,000 aircraft, training and combat planes, literally dispersed all over the world. And building so many planes, they had to train men to service them, man them, fly them, and everything associated with flight, from flight training, combat aircraft, transport aircraft, observation aircraft. There are just airfields all over the country. There are military airplanes in the sky everywhere, because there were air bases everywhere. It was fantastic. In the meantime, the government trained over 200,000 men to maintain and service the aircraft. So that's what I had to overcome to get a job in aviation. I wasn't very successful on it, and in order to support myself, I went to work at an auto glass shop on the corner of Lincoln Boulevard and Warren Avenue. Did I mention the houses? Did I mention that
Yeah.
the house veterans house that the family we built on Warren Avenue. Yeah. I got tired.
We talked about the
waiting for mine, so I gave it up. But I was living with my sister and her husband, Alan, at the time.
So did you
I'm not sure how I got the job at the auto glass shop down the corner of Lincoln Boulevard. I literally had to walk to work every morning. Anyway, that's the work I did was we cut auto glass, installed side windows, windshields, and all associated gear to maintain, replace, and service up windows. We even had the first auto windows. Only instead of being electric motors, they were hydraulic motors, and it created all kinds of problems. Okay, so that's where I was. Yeah. Okay. On December 25th, 1950, got married, went on a honeymoon. On a honeymoon, we drove to the next day. We drove to Las Vegas on our way to Iowa, and we got up, had breakfast, and I was walking to the car to continue our journey east when there's in these little boxes that sold papers. You'd put a nickel in it, then you'd open up the box and take out a paper. And the first time I noticed that North Korea had invaded South Korea, that Esther and I looked at that, and all of a sudden I realized we were at war again. Oh my God! Although it hadn't been hardly 4 years since the last war ended, and we were in back of it. I was pretty blue about it. I looked at her. I didn't say anything, but I wanted to come back home again. I just didn't feel about it. Continuing my journey, and we plodded on anyway. Okay, well, we spent 2 weeks on our honeymoon, came back, and settled down into life, married life. Now, later in the summer of 1950, Esther's twin sister, May, and Sam bought a GI house in Reseda, California. It was on Van Owen Avenue, about 2 blocks west of White Oak. That part of the country was maybe 1/4 or 1/3 developed with housing. There was lots of open area out there, but that's where they started building GI houses. And we would probably drive out there at least once a week to see them. They were busy establishing the house. They didn't even have phone lines in yet. It was so new. What the phone company had done, that on each block they put in a pay telephone. And it was a situation. Sometimes the phone would ring and a passerby would answer the phone to, yeah, would you go to such and such an address, tell somebody there I wanted to speak to them or something like that. That's the way it was. It was a little while before we got wired phone service. Anyway, one day we went out there, and either Uncle Sam or Auntie May had mentioned they were building a new GI tract just off of White Oak Avenue. So Grandma Esther and I, we got in the car and went over to take a look. Let's see. We took a look.
Is this the same house that Auntie May lived in
I'm
for
not. What? Go ahead.
I was going to ask if that's the same house that they continued to live in for.
Yeah,
that they continued. Because I remember Auntie May's house.
17552 Lemay Place. That was the house.
So that was GI housing. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that was originally GI housing.
It was a GI house one of the very first. They started. I'm not sure when they started construction. We went out to look at the site, and the framing was up. Most of the framing was up in the house. We moved in on December 17th, 1950. And I sold the place on my birthday, August 16th, 1985. So in effect, we owned it about 35 years.
Sold it in 86?
Yeah.
Did you say 86 that you sold it?
What?
It was 86 that you sold it? 1986?
Maybe it was 1986. Yeah, I thought it was 1985, but
so I have questions because I'm
I know I gave up possession of it on my birthday, August the 16th, 1986. And
so I have questions about that general area of the valley. So a lot of that was, so I didn't realize prior to this, but obviously a lot of that housing is GI housing. So it was the federal government that was building those houses? Well, or they contracted out to builders?
Okay. It was part of the GI Bill. Now, I mentioned earlier, we had this little apartment we were paying $60 a month for. It didn't even have a bedroom. It had the couch pulled out into a bed. So the front room became the bedroom. It had the front room, a kitchen, and a small bathroom, $60 a month. Well, we moved into 17552 and Lemay Place, and the monthly mortgage payments were $52.50. So all it cost us was the deposit to hold the house, and when it cleared escrow, we moved in to start. The payments were $52.50 a month. And
so that was so essentially that's because I always wondered why, like, the motivation for moving from LA proper, I mean, out to the valley, which is still LA technically, but I mean, basically suburbs. So
okay.
For you guys, it was just this need for more housing. Is that
yeah,
or for cheaper housing for?
Okay, there was no housing at all. I think I mentioned that
Yeah.
16 million GIs were discharged from the service. Most of them had no place to live because most of them had probably been in the service an average of 2 or 3 years. So the only new places were to live were GI houses, part of the GI Bill. Supplied housing, it supplied education, job opportunities, all kinds of things. So
I'm curious.
Now,
I was going to ask.
Okay,
We keep talking over each other.
Let's get back to this. After the North Korea invaded South Korea, the aviation industry in Southern California shot up like a hot thermometer, the thermometer on a hot day, and almost within weeks of the Korean War starting, appointment ads started, local aircraft companies, and I was working at the auto shop, but I forget what I was making, maybe something like $40 a week. I'm not sure. I saw an ad for Lockheed Aircraft Service. Now, Lockheed Aircraft Service was a part of the Lockheed corporate family, but what they did is they didn't build or design aircraft. They serviced and modified aircraft. And right away, they got a contract to bring some World War II aircraft out of storage, overhaul them, to return them as useful service aircraft to the Army Air Force. Now, in 1948 or 1949, the Army Air Forces was, as the name says, part of the Army. But in 1949, the whole military was overhauled. Instead of being called the War Department, it became the Defense Department. The Pentagon, it was housed in the Pentagon in Washington. So the Army Air Force became a separate service. So we had 5 services now. We had the Army, the Navy, the Army Air Force, the Marine Corps, Coast Guard. All those services now, instead of being part of the War Department, were separate services under the umbrella of the Department of the Defense. So accordingly, one day I took a day off from the glass shop, went to Burbank, and they offered me a job at about, I was making half again as much as I was at the glass shop. And so that's what happened. So instead of running into town to work in the auto glass shop, all I had to do was drive out to Lockheed Airport, where Lockheed Aircraft Air Service was located. And I worked there until 1955. In the meantime, in July of 1950, Mark was born. And in October of 1954, your mother was born. Uh, so
So I have
now
some
you now
questions.
you now it's time to ask me questions.
Okay, I do have I have new questions, but I'm going to go back to the one I previously had for the GI housing. When because I'm just curious about the way this worked. So was it the did you get was the did the government like supplement the funds to do the housing, or did the government actually build the
No,
houses
no.
and set
What the
like
government
the
did?
amount of?
Okay, what the government did. The houses were built by home builders, private enterprise. All the all the government did was just back the financing. We moved in, no down payment. There was, I think, $170 or $180 deposit on it. And that also covered the escrow costs and things like that. But essentially, we moved in without any down payment. We were paying $60 a month rent for that little apartment in LA, and our our mortgage payments were $52.50.
They weren't. It was just regular housing. Anyone could move into them. It was not. They weren't
No,
specifically GI houses.
no, GIs. It was GI housing, not
So it
everybody.
was.
Okay, there were 16 million veterans now swarming the country, and
I understand that part. So they were specifically when the private home builders built it, they could only sell them to GIs.
yes, as I
Okay,
understood it.
I was just
Yeah.
I'm just curious because it was a time before me. And obviously if you were working by that time you were already working in Burbank, so that was another incentive to move out to the valley, I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
yeah.
Because it's easier to, I mean, I think it's easier to commute from where you were. And then
More
Esther,
questions?
did Esther continue her job or did she quit her job then? I mean,
Actually, she did until she got pregnant,
okay.
and she became a homemaker then.
So then you moved out to the valley. Did pretty much everyone move out to the valley around the same time? Because you talked about May
Uh,
um,
yeah, May and
and
Sam were the
Sam.
first. Uh, and Esther and I were second. My sister and Alan followed us out there. Cousin uh, Betty Elizabeth and her then husband Maurice, they moved there. Stan and his then wife Betty Jane also moved out there. Dick and Flo moved out there, except they moved into a different tract, but they only lived about 4 blocks from us. Yeah, everybody moved out to Venice, California. Everybody moved out to Venice then.
You mean to Reseda or that?
Well, me and Sam lived in Reseda. The boundary of Reseda was on White Oak Avenue. East of White Oak was Van Nuys. West of
Okay, so Van Nuys
Oak
is what you.
was Reseda. We lived in Van Nuys, although it was only 6 blocks away from me and Sam's house.
Okay. So I have a question for I'm curious just kind of like what your lifestyle was. Like did you guys um go on very many I guess maybe this is more after like the kids are born or anything like did you guys do any
Well,
trips or what did you guys do in
well,
for Good time.
Our lifestyle. We after we moved in, we had to establish a home, buy furniture, rugs. They when they built the house, they kind of like threw up some lawn seed. They graded, everything was graded. They put in some grass, but it never did work. And the thing you had to do now was establish your home. So the first few years, that's where most of our money went, and buying furniture and making upgrades to the house. One of the things that was difficult to do was to buy appliances. The war ended in the summer of 1945. The country then had to switch from a war footing to a peacetime footing. I don't recall how the conversion back to peacetime went when refrigerators started appearing in stores again, home appliances started appearing in the store again. People could buy cars. When that happened, the products we were seeing were products that had been designed before the war, and the major companies just took the tooling for those products that they had stored away when they were converted to building products for war to building products for peacetime. One of the things we needed to buy a refrigerator, a stove, and a washing machine. Now, when the war ended, washing machines were a little more than tubs with an agitator, and to dry the clothes, you ran them through what was called a wringer. That is, there were two rollers mounted one on top of another that when you turned them on, they would roll. You put clothes in them, and it would wring all the water out of the clothes. In 1950 now, new products had starting to come on the market. Actually, before 1950, probably in 1948, late 1948, when they start building products. When the war ended, the products they were building were just a continuation of the products they were building before the war started. So most of the products you saw were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old in design. But by late 1948, 49, new products were coming on the market. And one of them was in washing machines. And instead of having a wringer on them now, they had a rotating tub. Instead of rotating horizontally, they rotated vertically. And by speeding up by programming the washing sequence and go through a bunch of events from filling to rinsing to washing, soap dispensing, etc., etc. So we were lucky enough to buy some used we bought a used washing machine of very recent design. We bought it cheaper than new ones because the post-war machines and pre-war machines were actually being built together. There was a big demand for them. So we were able to buy a post-war designed machine. We bought a dryer, a stove, and Aunt Molly was my father's sister. She knew somebody that was selling a refrigerator that defrosted. Now, a self-defrosting refrigerator was the first post-war feature on refrigerators when they started building refrigerators again after the war. That was the first thing that was a big difference on them. We actually bought a used washing machine of I don't know why it was put up for sale, but anyway, and Molly was involved in that. So by the middle of about a year and a half, we eventually had the house furnished. We had bought some rugs, and when Esther became pregnant with Mark, we started our nursery. The house we bought had a little over 1,000 square feet. It had one bathroom, 2 bedrooms. The third room was a room that was convertible, that it could be a den or a bedroom. You couldn't really call it a bedroom because it had 2 entrances. One was to the kitchen, and then on the opposite wall was a doorway to the hallway, which led to the 2 other bedrooms and the bathroom. There was a small dining room, a fairly large living room, and a kitchen that somehow somebody, 2 people must have worked on the design of the kitchen, because on one side there was a base cabinets with a sink in the middle, like it should be, with a middle in the window, and upper cabinets on each side. Then on the opposite side, in the far left corner, there was a room for a stove, and then there was a small base cabinet, maybe 24 or 30 inches wide. Then let's see, there was a base cabinet, a stove, another small base cabinet, and then the refrigerator was right on the end of it there. When you open the door all the way, the door of the refrigerator blocked the front entrance to the kitchen. Kind of crazy. I was to fix that many years later. Question.
No, it sounds interesting. So how many garages?
Okay.
How big of a garage? You had a garage, I believe, right?
The garage is an interesting subject. The garage was an interesting subject. As I remember, there were roughly 300 homes in the tract. There was 4 or 5 basic layouts And then each of the 5 basic layouts had secondary differences. So it could be the same floor plan on the inside, but on the outside, it would look a little bit different. So there was a wide variety on what the houses looked like. We bought a conventional looking house with a driveway on the right side as you face the street, and a driveway that went down to the back, and the garage was at the rear of the property. However, most of the properties had the garage in front. This was a new idea now, because the existing idea of a garage was a detached garage in the back. That's just how it always had been. But most of the new houses, they had an attached 2-car garage in front with a driveway in front of it. I don't know how we selected the house we did. I think it was actually Grandma Esther's. She probably got what she liked. I just don't recall why we selected it.
It was 17552 Lemay.
Lemay Place. There was also a Lemay Street.
Oh, oh, okay, I'm on. That's so, and
it's just off White Oak and Van Owen.
So 1552, that's what the address is saying. Wait,
that's it on that's it on the right. That's it right there. 17552.
So this is the house that you lived in for many, many, many years. So this is
35 years.
So there's the detached. So is it one bedroom? Was it not a one bedroom? A 1-car garage in the back there?
No, it's 2-car garage.
It is 2-car garage.
Yeah.
Did you have a fence around the front here?
No, not at all.
So this front. So then what room is behind this?
What
room is behind the window here?
That's the front room.
That's the front room.
Okay. To the left of that is a small dining room.
And this is the dining room over here?
That's a dining room. Okay. Move to the left. There's okay.
You mean over here?
Okay. The first window right there. The first window is a window in the dining room. The second window is a window in the front room. What you see in back, go back a little further, is an addition I added to the house.
Oh,
okay.
This part right here, where the roof line changes?
Huh?
Okay. Where the roof line changes?
Yeah.
Is that your addition?
Yeah. Can you view that from the top, from a satellite? Is there a satellite view available?
Yes. It certainly is. Let me. So this is it. This is us looking down on the house.
There it is. Yeah, that's it.
There's the garage.
There's the garage. There's the pool.
When did you have the pool put in?
We had the pool put in as when I built the addition to the house. The pool was part of the financing on that too, and that was started in 1963 and finished in 1967.
Wait, the addition, it took 4 years to do all of that work?
What?
It took 4 years to do the work?
Almost, yeah. I did most of it myself.
Oh, wow. Wait, you didn't, did you do the pool yourself too?
No, no, I had the pool put in.
But the addition, so what did you add on to the house then? What was
Okay,
done?
okay. You see, right where you have the arrow. Okay, that. Okay. Uh, let's see if I can. Okay, do you see my arrow?
No, no, I can give you, I don't know if I can give you,
Control.
I don't know if I can give you control. I
Okay,
might be able to.
looking down on a house in the very center on the
Here,
roof.
here, try it again. I just gave you control. Try it again.
Okay,
Yep, I can see
okay,
your mouse.
okay. That's the air conditioning
See,
system right there.
that's
Okay.
the wrong house. You need to move one over. So
Oh,
you're in
oh, okay. There's
that's
the
the house
air.
right there.
Okay, there's the air conditioning. Okay, this area right
Okay.
here, that was open. There's where the house originally ended, right there. You go across right here, and you go across right
Uh,
there. But this was open. This was a patio. There was a door there.
huh.
Okay, okay. I if you draw a line roughly across this way is where the house originally ended. I added this and this, and this is the roof. This is a rock roof right here. This that's that covers the den. So this what would be was a patio became a den. Okay.
Hmm.
Uh, in here is there was a bedroom here. I told you about the room. It had there was a door. There's a hallway going right here. This area was one bedroom. Here was another bedroom, one, two, and this this area in here was where the convertible bedroom den was. This was the kitchen. The dining room is in here. The front room is is in here.
So did you add on an extra room? What was the
Okay,
ultimate
okay,
changes?
okay. The end of the house. There's a bedroom right there. The hallway was right there. And then there was another bedroom right there, with just a short thing to the patio right in the center. Okay, uh, I this is a flat roof here covering the den I added. From this part it is all added. It went from 1,050 feet to 1,640. All of this is some 500 feet that I added to it right here to the house.
Nice. So then did it have did you put on an extra bedroom? I
Yeah,
with
this
some of the,
yeah yeah this became
is
a
it now a
den.
3 bedroom?
Okay, and right in here where the house ended, there was a closet right here. Uh, I turned the closet into a small hallway between this bedroom and the den. So the the hallway would go across this way, one bedroom. There was a bedroom here, and the bedroom had two closets. Then we and the addition was another bedroom right here. So uh, we had one, two, still had three bedrooms in here, and the uh, this bedroom, this convertible thing here was expanded. This is a flat roof right here. This all used to be patio.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at, this is my cursor now. This house next door, Here, I'm gonna take, actually, I'm gonna, here, let go of or stop your mouse for a moment. I want to try to.
Okay, the house next door, left or right?
I was gonna say that the house next door looks like the same house that you previously had without an addition.
Well,
To the left, because the line on the house looks about where
okay,
you showed.
okay, both this one and this one over here were different.
Oh, okay, never mind. So they're
Yeah,
different.
this one and this one were different. Here we have a shared driveway over here. We have a shared driveway. Let's see. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna take.
Okay, you can move it now if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to. Here, you got to let go of the. We're both competing for the same mouse right now. If you let
Okay,
go of it for
you
a
can have
second,
it.
I'll.
You can have it.
Oh,
Okay.
that's okay. I just stopped sharing.
That's a 10:15 now.
Yeah. I think this is probably a good spot to wrap up. This was kind of interesting to learn. I had been curious about how you had ended up moving from LA proper, what I considered, area out to the valley. So it was interesting to learn about that today.
Oh yeah, because of May and Sam, they were the first. They moved out, and eventually we all moved out.
Okay.
Okay. Next week.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
Yeah.
Let's continue. I want to hear more stories.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.